Good morning, everybody. So what does this mean for Year 5? Well, it simply means that we can recognise that some units of measurement are better suited for some tasks than others. In particular, we're going to have a look at how we can lower our environmental footprint. Are water tanks a good idea? How much water can we actually collect in a water tank? So we're going to need to have a look at some rainfall statistics. Here's an interesting fact for you. Australia has a very diverse rainfall. We already know that. But depending on where you live, you can receive as much as 4.2 metres, just like Tully in North Queensland. It is beautiful and green, but sometimes too much rain is not good for us. Sadly, there are some places, like Mulga in South Australia, that really don't get enough rainfall at all. Poor Mulga only receives about 185 millimetres of rain a year, and as you can see from the picture, there's not much there. There used to be a general store and a few other small buildings there as well that used to service the local station and the people who used to work on that local station. Unfortunately, because of the lack of rain, it didn't work out very well for the people, so they all packed up and had to move on to the next place. Now there's not much left of the area, a few broken down buildings, and of course there is the bore. And the bore still pumps water, but it's generally only used to water any stock that might be in the area. Did you all notice from the last two slides that Tully's rainfall is measured in metres, while Mulga is actually measured in millimetres? This is sometimes done for tourist brochures and internet websites that are made for the tourist. It's sometimes difficult for them to understand just how little rainfall will fall in one place or how much will fall in another. However, if you have a look at the graphs below, they are all broken down into monthly rainfall totals. Therefore, for comparison purposes, they are also broken down equally into millimetres, so we can see the difference between the two places. Now that we've had a look at some of the very big differences in rainfall from one place to another, let's have a look at our own area. Do you think it would be a good idea to have a rainwater tank here? Do you think we would get enough rain to fill it? How do you think, if you had a rainwater tank, you could reduce your environmental footprint? Some interesting questions to have a think about. Maybe first we need to have a look and see just how we are going to collect our rainfall. As you know, the storm comes over, it rains on a roof. On our roof we have gutters. This collects the rainwater, takes it down the downpipes and along to a rainwater tank. Here it sits and waits until it's used. Some houses, particularly on farms, will pump it back into their house for them to use for their own personal use. Now we've had a brief look at how you can catch the rainwater. How much do you think we're going to need? How much do you think we can catch on our roof? Let's look at that last question first. For every square metre of roof, if you had 1 millimetre of rain, it will produce 1 litre of water. That's a heap, isn't it? So the equation for that might look like the roof area multiplied by the depth of rainfall will equal the volume of water we've collected in our rainwater tank. So let's look at the information that we do know. All houses are different. We'll assume that our house has a roof area of 200 square metres. Nice, easy number. The rainfall on a given day is 10 millimetres. If we multiply these two numbers together, we get the volume of rain that has been collected in our rainwater tank for the total day. This is how our rainfall occasion will look like if we wrote it out. Roof area, which we'll measure in metres squared, multiplied by the depth of rainfall, which we measure in millimetres, will equal the volume, which, because it's a big number, we'll measure in litres. So we have 200 multiplied by 10 equals 2,000. So there you can see, our rainwater tank has received a total of 2,000 litres of rain. Doesn't look much in our rainwater tank, does it? But that's because we have a 10,000 litre tank. So we've looked at how much rain we will get in our rainwater tank if only 10 millimetres fell on our roof. What if we wanted to know how much rain we would have in our rainwater tank if it was a 10,000 litre tank? Let's see how we're going to work this out. We know the capacity of our rainwater tank is 10,000 litres. We know that from 10 millimetres of rain, we ended up with 2,000 litres of rain. Now, if we divide 10,000 by 2,000, we end up with 5. So with our 10 millimetres of rain multiplied 5 times, that gives us 50 millimetres. So we need to have 50 millimetres of rain to fill up that 10,000 litre tank. Did you realise that we just looked at capacity and volume? They're also measurements. But do you know the difference between the two of them? Here's a simple way of having a look at volume and capacity. We all know a can of Coke. We've seen them plenty of times. The capacity of a can of Coke is 375 mils of liquid. That's if it was full. But if you drink half that can, you might only have 200 mils left in the can. The actual amount of Coke that is left in that can will be considered the volume of liquid that you have. So the capacity means how much you can actually hold if it was full to the top. Volume means how much is actually in it. So have you decided yet whether or not it's a good idea to have a rainwater tank? Here's a fun fact for you to have a think about. Might even change your mind if you've decided that maybe you won't have one. Did you know that on average every person uses about 35 litres of water a day just to flush a toilet? That's assuming that we all have new toilets. It's even worse if we have older ones. You can use up to 72 litres of water on just one day, just from flushing a toilet. Amazing, isn't it? You wouldn't think that you'd use that much water. As we've seen from using our maths equations, we know how to work out how much rainwater we can collect from our roof. We can also use this information then to work out how much we actually need to fill up our rainwater tanks. So now do you think it might be worthwhile to install a rainwater tank? Some of the different places that we can use it is on our gardens, in our toilets, and in our laundries. Some people even drink the rainwater from the tanks, but it might be a good idea to boil it first before you do this. By using a rainwater tank, this will alleviate the pressure on using town water, saves you money, and it benefits the environment by not taking the water straight from the waterways unnecessarily. So think long and hard, maybe it will be a good idea.